Field Trips features real field stories told by real ASCE members. This episode of Field Trips is sponsored by Tensar.
My name is Nodine, and this is my field trip. So, my story begins way back in 2004. I was definitely a geotechnical newbie. It was my first year or so at GEI, and they sent me to Colorado in the Denver area, where I was going to watch a soil bentonite cutoff wall be constructed and take samples, do QA, QC, all that good stuff. This was a big adventure for me. At that time, work travel was a pretty big deal. GEI was a lot smaller, and we didn't do a lot of big travel across the country. So it felt like a huge adventure for me to get on a plane with all my field equipment, rent a car, and go to the site and meet the people in Colorado. So I flew out there successfully. I picked up my rental SUV, which was definitely not burly enough for this extremely muddy site. And I arrived at the site on my first day, and I spent the day training and learning all about how to do my specific gravity measurements and tell when we were hitting bedrock at the bottom of the cutoff wall and watching the excavator. And I get to the end of the day, and I realized that I can't find my rental car key. So I'm looking everywhere and starting to panic, and everybody on site is helping me try to find the key. And so eventually I give up at the end of the day, and I call my good college friend Ellen, who is having dinner with me that night, and ask her to also drive me to the rental car company to see if they can give us another key to the car. So Ellen graciously picks me up and takes me there, and the rental car company tells me, well, actually, that was the only key we have for this rental car, and it was one of those fancy, expensive, computerized keys. So we were going to have to go to the dealer the next day to get a key for the car, a key made for the car, and pay for that. So Ellen takes me to dinner and takes me to my hotel that night, and the next morning I have to have, I'm supposed to be coming out here to cover for people, but instead the project manager of the slurry wall project picks me up and brings me to the site. This person who is not being very helpful since I lost my rental car key. I get to the site, and as soon as the dealer opens, I call them and I tell them that I'm going to need a new key for my rental car. And I'm thinking, they can come down to see the car or something, or just bring me the key. But no, actually the car has to be towed to the dealership to get the key made. So we get a tow truck over there, and the tow truck has to drag the car up without, the wheels didn't even turn. I remember this, it just dragged up onto the tow truck. It probably was not good for the car, just because, there was no key to start it. It seems like there would have been a better solution than this, but there was not. So, I think I rode in the tow truck to the dealer, and they had them program a new key, and, that's how I got my car back finally, and I drove back to the site. So the rest of my 3 weeks in Colorado were relatively uneventful. I did not make any other big mistakes, and I learned how to watch slurry walls. I even learned how to drive an excavator, which it's been about 20 years, so it's probably okay to admit that now. But I had a good time, and I learned a lot about keeping track of my things. And I am very grateful that GEI was willing to cover the roughly $1,000 of expenses I incurred from the tow truck and the key remaking. But the icing on the cake was that in the last day or two I was on site, somebody came into the trailer and said, hey, is this somebody's key? And they had found my rental car key in the mud. At that point, it was definitely completely destroyed. So that's the end of my story. I'm Nodine, and this is my field trip.
Field Trips is a production of ASCE and the Geo-Institute.